And a very pleasant good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Tornado Talk. We're here on Monday nights at 7 p.m., where we talk all things Brevard College athletics. And I think you're going to enjoy tonight's show as we're going to talk some football. It's going to be a football-centric show this evening, and we're joined by head coach Bill Khayat. And before we get to Coach Khayat, just want to let you know that this is an interactive format here on Facebook Live. If you're watching the show live on Facebook, feel free to leave your questions or comments, and we'll do our best to get to them throughout the program. And we will have a great night once again here on Tornado Talk, talking all things Brevard College athletics. And joined this evening by the head coach of Brevard College football, Coach Bill Khayat. Coach, thanks for joining the program.
Glad to be here. Appreciate your invitation, Phil.
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on this particular Monday was just days ago at the Porter Center, a bowl ring ceremony commemorating the 2019 team, the most successful team in program history, a 42-28 bowl win over Carnegie Mellon in the Scotty Whitelaw Bowl in Pittsburgh last season. And the players and the staff from that squad, along with the cheerleading student athletes, everyone really who was a part of this received their bowl championship rings in a socially distant ceremony, but definitely an effective one as well. Coach Khayat, kind of your feelings, and if you can kind of tell people a little more about that ring ceremony.
Well, if you think about it, it was really a celebration of individuals' performance, guidance, and support. And without those three categories, we really would have never had the extraordinary season and, of course, the memorable finale that we did. So the setup was really such over in the Porter Center where you were there to make the announcements of the individuals receiving the rings, and started off with part of our support team. So there was a whole lot of individuals that supported the program. So those that were receiving rings got to get theirs and be a part of that wonderful, wonderful deal. And then followed by the cheerleaders, who again, without, anything that you watch these days, without that crowd, and they're trying to manufacture crowd noise and that sort of thing, it's a lot more difficult of an atmosphere to play in. And when you have the support of the cheerleaders, there you go, that falls into that support category. Then we moved to the guidance category. So the guidance was the coaching staff. So all the coaches lined up right past the cheerleaders, all minimum 6 feet apart, and we all have our masks on. But you did a wonderful job of making the announcements of who the individual was and where they're from and why they were a part of the program. And then getting to being able to walk up to a podium with a nice backdrop and people clapping and making some nice sounds, and getting a picture made with a ring. So that was fantastic. And then after the guidance group, which are the coaches, then we moved on to the performance group. So the performance were the players. And all of those players got to be individually recognized. And that's something that is rare, obviously, in 2020, to especially do it in person. So it wasn't a virtual ceremony. We followed all rules and regulations, guidelines from the CDC, all the protocol that we take very seriously here at Brevard College. And yet it didn't take anything away from the experience of receiving the bowl rings. And so each one of those players got to get called out individually, recognized for their achievements, and they could not have been more thrilled to finally receive that ultimate prize.
Coach, I love letting viewers of Tornado Talk sort of behind the curtain, and I heard you tell an anecdote after the ring ceremony about athletic director Miranda Nash and how sort of the ring sort of came to be. Can you give folks a little insight on that whole backstory?
Certainly. So, as far as the game, we were preparing to win a football game. We weren't preparing to win a prize, a trophy, a banner. That's not what we wanted to do. We wanted to get that victory. So that was our focus. And we are now on the buses just outside of our old locker room at the barn, and were packed up, ready to pull out, head off to Pittsburgh. And then several individuals came out to see us off, which was a very wonderful thing. Well, then Miranda Nash asked if she could just say a few words to the team before they pulled out. And I said, yeah, that'd be fantastic. Please do. So she stepped on to the first bus. We have 2 buses, so she could only step on, obviously, one at a time. So she stepped onto the first bus and began to make the announcement. So I don't have to sit there and micromanage. She can obviously handle herself in her own business, but I was just at the bottom of the steps where I was still in earshot. And she was given a great rah-rah. It was short and simple and a best of luck, but she finished it with, now go get those rings and bring them back to Brevard. I said, rings? I don't know anything about any rings. I was not privy to any of this information. So Miranda had gotten off the bus and was getting ready to walk onto the next bus. And I said, Miranda, wait a minute, you said rings. Are we really going to be able to do these rings? And she said, sure enough, we are. I said, you don't understand that, because once she made that promise to those guys, you should have seen the excitement on that first bus. I don't know how the second bus didn't hear all of the information from the first, because it was rocking and it was loud and they were excited. So when it came to game time, my pregame speech was very simple because Miranda had already basically given it for me, which was just, let's go get those rings.
That's right. Fantastic. And indeed, the Tornadoes were able to get those rings. Really the cherry on top for an incredible season and a lifelong memory for those student athletes. Coach, not just the rings, but, the performance of the Tornadoes last season, the all sorts of records shattered in terms of school records. One of the best defenses in all of NCAA Division III, on top of all sorts of statistical categories for the USA South, and a lot of momentum in terms of wins in the end part of that season. What does it all mean in terms of catapulting the Tornadoes into the future, namely this upcoming season, which will take place spring of 2021?
Well, it's an extremely proud moment for the coaching staff, just knowing the history of the program, knowing that in the previous 3 years to our arrival, there were 2 total wins in the program. And now, after 3 years, we had 8 wins just in one season alone. So knowing that we set forth a plan and we had the patience to work through it and grow it in the proper fashion. So now we have something that should not be a flash in the pan. This should not be a one-time. We all remember the 2019 season because that was the one time that we did these fantastic things. We do expect far more from this point forward. So as far as what it does for us as a coaching staff, we're thrilled for what these players were able to achieve. And now they have this enduring symbol here of exactly what they were able to do and reach the lofty goals that we had set for them. Because in 2017, there is no way that we're going to go 8-2. Now, we're coaching to go 10-0. But the reality of it is, if you're going to do it in the right way, it's never going to happen. And, just to see the thrill on these players' faces each week when we would gain yet another victory, I mean, it's truly priceless. So for that, it's fantastic. Now, what it does for us now, think about us in the recruiting aspect of it. Now we're not saying, do you want to be part of a dream? We say, do you want to be part of a champion? So it has made things far more easy. Not that recruiting is something that is simple, but it gives us, it opens up recruiting far more because now many individuals are reaching out to us and now they want to be a part of our program. So the pool has increased significantly thanks to this championship.
2019 season, an 800 winning percentage, 5 conference wins, 5-1 in road games, all school records, most wins in school history, first bowl win in school history. The accolades go on and on. But it's time for, even more. I know the Tornadoes, coaching staff and those student athletes are not satisfied. And it all gets started this fall with fall practice, a obviously unusual situation where a lot of what we'd be seeing during the spring will be happening in the fall, and then the actual game competition set for the spring. Coach, can you kind of fill us in a little bit, sort of where we're at heading into fall practice and those plans for fall practice?
So there are a few changes now due to the fallout from the COVID-19 pandemic. So now in Division III football, in our non-competitive season, which has flipped from the spring to the fall, we're actually allowed to wear helmets and shoulder pads, which is fantastic. And it was a really great idea from the NCAA to do that, just because of the length of time it's been since the players have worn helmets and shoulder pads. Heck, we haven't lost a football game in 10 months. So think about that. So, it's been quite some time since the players have worn the equipment. So being able to learn how to use it once again in the proper way is extremely important. So our plan is to start on the 30th of September. And for anyone that follows Division I football, where they see these spring practices and they're padded up and guys are trying to win roster spots, and then they're scrimmaging on the weekends, and it all finishes with this grand blue-white game or crimson and gold game or whatever the school colors are. That's kind of how we're going to format it. So we plan to go Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, pretty much padded up, for the most part, full pads. And on Saturdays, we'll have inter-squad scrimmages. And then we'll do that for 3 consecutive weeks. And then the 4th week, we will still have the 3 practices. However, the 3rd one will be extremely light. Then we're going to have a draft, and our players are going to draft teams. And we'll have 2 teams. One will be the blue, one will be the white. And then we will go out on Saturday, October 24th, 1 p.m. In Ives Lamel, and we will be out there for what will be our blue-white theoretical spring game, but in the fall. So that's the grand plan that would give us 16 practice days and 3 inter-squad scrimmages and 1 inter-squad, but built up to this blue-white game. So that is the plan for the fall. And then obviously things can be adjusted based on what happens with the schedule in the spring.
You mentioned Ives Lamel Family Field, the new home for Tornadoes football home games on campus. Certainly big possibilities there. A stadium atmosphere now, and also a field house where the locker room is convenient and will be brand new for the Tornadoes. Can you talk about those facility upgrades and also just the general idea of bringing Brevard College football onto campus?
It's just been an exciting ride for all of us, coaches and players, just to watch the progress. So for many, they had to do it remotely. They weren't on campus to hear that hammer driving that nail into the wood. But if you were there and you could watch it, just the daily progress was fantastic. But a wonderful job of information getting out to the players and the coaches that weren't able to be on campus, just to see the progress made all throughout the last several months. And just every day with it getting closer and closer, the excitement was just building. And then once everyone returned to campus and got to see what was out there, now they just want to know more. Like, we want more information. We want to get inside. We want to start utilizing all of the new facilities. So, just a wonderful moment in Brevard College football history for us. Obviously, there are other sports that are benefiting from this wonderful new facility. But for us in particular, extremely thrilled about being able to be on campus. And I know I've mentioned this in the past, but it's definitely worth repeating. When we would practice on that turf, even though there were no lines for football, it wasn't really no goalposts or anything, the energy change from that to just being back in our typical practice quarters, out in the grass, beyond the old softball field, what a change in atmosphere. And the players generally, once again, much like my pregame speech in the bowl game against Carnegie Mellon, where Miranda pretty much handled it for me, the atmosphere handles my rah-rah part of a practice. I don't really have to get anyone uplifted and energized to practice when we were on that turf. And now that is where our actual games will be played. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. Just the energy that you'll feel in the spring when we get going with legitimate competition is going to be truly outstanding.
Yeah, certainly a game changer for Brevard College, for the, just the general student experience as well, having football on campus. So exciting times, and can't wait to see the Tornadoes in action at Ives Lamel Family Field. Now, Coach, ever since your arrival, you've had a really prolific coaching staff, a group of assistant coaches that if you were to peruse the biographies on bctornadoes.com, you see NFL and Division I brand names throughout. And, certainly I know you're pleased with this year's coaching staff, a real interesting blend of talent who brings a lot of different dynamics to this year's team. And I'd love to hear from you as far as this year's coaching staff and perhaps some of those changes in terms of the assistant coaches.
Well, with success often breeds change, meaning we have a fantastic formula. And people want to know, what in the world are you doing at Brevard College? I've got to know. And hey, if you've been a part of that staff, I need you here. So in March, I lost my assistant head coach, running back coach, Eric Gallen, to a Division I school, Jackson State. Not but a few months later in July, I lose my newly appointed assistant head coach and special teams coordinator, Jaron Gavea, to another Division I team at Virginia Tech.
His alma mater.
Alma mater. And then a month after that, I lose my newly appointed recruiting coordinator and wide receiver coach, Andrew Bather, to Tennessee State, another Division I school. So that was 3 Division I schools that plucked from my staff simply because of the success and wanting to know, what is it that you all are doing there? So now that pressure's on for me. Now I've got to replace each of these individuals with ones that are highly talented and come with very impressive resumes. So first move was to hire a gentleman named Martin Bayless. So Martin Bayless's 14th year in the NFL as a player was my first. So we were technically teammates in 1996 with the Kansas City Chiefs. That's how I first became to know him. But over time, our paths would cross in the coaching ranks under Denny Green at the Sacramento Mountain Lions. And then we've just, kept a friendship ever since. He has been in several different capacities throughout mostly professional football. So whether that's more on the managerial side of things, ownership side, he's been coaching a lot of special teams, secondary type thing. He was a safety and corner in the National Football League for those 14 seasons. A little tidbit about him: he does hold the NCAA record for career interceptions. So think about that one. So he has 29 career interceptions. He played at Bowling Green and does hold that record. So he probably does know a thing or two about how to intercept a football. But anyhow, so so that's his background, and he worked with the NFLPA and the Players Union and things. So he really, with all of the different hats he's worn, he comes to decisions from so many different aspects. So he's very well thought out. And just watching him in the interactions that he's had thus far with the players, I just sit back and smile, and I'm extremely impressed with his delivery, and I think he gets immediate respect from the players. My next hire, I needed to replace a running back coach. So the gentleman's name is John Tomlinson, and he has a very storied career on all 3 levels of football. So he was a big-time high school coach in Texas. So most people know about the quality of high school football in Texas, there for many years. He's also coached at a few FCS schools, Morgan State, and most recently at UNC Central, which will help us in the recruiting in the northern part of the state. And then he's also spent some time in the National Football League at the Oakland Raiders, Cleveland Browns, and Indianapolis Colts. And that's how we came to meet, was from a mutual friend in the National Football League that at the time was at the Oakland Raiders, now Las Vegas Raiders. So he's going to be a fantastic addition. Has already been meeting with the running backs and, just letting them know the way things are going to be. And it's all classroom stuff right now. Classroom and the way you handle yourself on campuses has nothing to do with taking a snap on the football field. All right. Next hire is Ellie Rudd. So Ellie Rudd, all right, graduate of UNC. And I know some people have difficulty in figuring out how I hired somebody from UNC being a Duke graduate. But Ellie, for 4 years, worked with the football program at UNC. Now, she was in various roles within the program, but she's covered everything from recruiting to equipment to field work. So really a fantastic resume. Phi Beta Kappa, so she knows a thing or two when it comes to studying and prepping and preparing. So had an extremely strong interview. She was actually set to do an internship with Dartmouth in the fall, and she's from Brevard. She actually went to Brevard High School. So she thought during the downtime, with everything really shut down due to the COVID situation, she just wanted to maybe get her feet wet and just get some idea of what it might be like at another staff, because all she knew, she was under 2 different coaches at UNC, but still it was just one program. So she thought, hey, maybe I could just come over to Brevard, just learn a thing or two, and then be a little bit more prepared when I go to Dartmouth for this internship for a few weeks. And one thing led to another, and she decided, hey, this is an opportunity to have a full-time paying gig as a assistant wide receiver coach and director of facilities. I can't pass this up. This is the whole reason you do the internship, is to hope that one day you'll end up in this position. So, I could see what an incredible asset she would be to our program. So there was no way I was letting her go. And the 4th hire is a gentleman named Jack Wellenhofer. So he spent his last 4 years in college, but unlike Ellie, who was in the coaching side of things for the last 4 years, he was in the playing side. So he was a long snapper for UNC Charlotte. I think they go by Charlotte now, but UNC Charlotte. And so he has a very strong background in special teams. And, Coach Gavay in the past, and prior to that, Coach Jakes had really had to do most of their work solo, never really had an assistant for special teams. And it's an extremely useful tool if you can have one. So opportunity presented itself, and Coach Wellenhofer came out, interviewed with Coach Gavea while he was still on staff. And Coach Gavea was extremely impressed with the interview process. And Jack's just been fantastic ever since he's been here on campus. So that's 4 new individuals who, the only way that I was bringing them to this program is if they were going to enhance our staff. Because where we are now, we're on the road to victory every week. So I can't have anybody that's bringing us down or doesn't work well with the program or the people around it, the campus, the personnel that we have as far as players. So every one of these met that main qualification of enhancing the staff.
Outstanding. And if we could, in general terms, get into that personnel in terms of players. Very small senior class last season. So, the bulk is returning, plus a lot of exciting newcomers. Can you talk about the strengths and sort of the dynamics of this year's roster?
Well, the greatest strength of all is not an individual. It's actually the team. And here's what I mean by that. I don't know that if I've ever been more proud of our players in a playing capacity. This is not in volunteer work outside. This isn't classroom setting and any of that, just in terms of pure playing in football. Yes, that moment in Pittsburgh is one that I will never forget. However, since the return to campus, okay, there are times where as football coaches, we cannot interact with the players at all to talk anything about football. I can't even say, oh, did you see Tom Brady's pass there to Gronk? That's really how you should throw the ball. I can't make any comments whatsoever about football. So that leaves the players to be on their own. So if they would just want to go out and work out, whether it be the summer, the spring semester, the fall semester, if it's not within our declared time through the NCAA, then these players are on their own. So they could sit around and just play their video games all day or watch TV or whatever they want to do. But this year, all right, there have been more people out participating with things that are not organized by any coach. This is all done by the players because they now know what cost them 2 games. They have one opponent that they have never beaten in the USA South, and that's Huntington. So they understand this. So without any coach having to say anything. Now, it is all the work that the coaches have put in for the past 3 years, but at this point, we don't do anything. And so I could be walking down to see you at your office and walk by, and I mean, I can see the turf out of the corner of my eye, and I see guys out there working on their own. And what a proud moment that is to know that these guys now don't need some type of daily incentive from the coaching staff that you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this, because things are fantastic when we're all together, you know, under the umbrella of this is when we can actually coach you in football. Now you're on your own, you're doing these things. 2 guys, 5 guys, 15 maybe at a max show up. And now we have the whole roster pretty much out there doing these things. So that is really when you talk about leadership. Now, who's doing that? I don't know. I'll find out when we start electing captains because the team will vote. So then I'll find out who's really behind all of this, doing these things. But, you know, once again, we're in the ballpark of about 15 players now into their last year of eligibility, which is huge from last year's 3. So that's fantastic for us. And, you know, we really, truly only have a handful of guys that have been with the program since we've taken it over back in 2017. And that was just due to how late we were hired as a coaching staff and were able to get out on the road recruiting. I mean, you're talking about February of these people's senior years. So, you know, once we were really building the foundation, if the players didn't want to be a part of what we were doing, they're just no longer with us. And now the ones that have stayed through the 3 years, those are the ones. And I believe that 3 of them will actually be on the show a little bit later. And I mean, that's our foundation. I mean, they are the ones on the bottom holding like this, balancing and keeping everything rolling. And, you know, couldn't be more proud of all those individuals. But we've also brought ones in from outside the program that may have 1 year of eligibility left. Maybe they have 2. Maybe they played at another place already. But now that we do have leadership and not 80% of the roster being freshmen, we can now bring individuals in from the outside that will adhere to what our regulations are and how to go about being a part of our football team. And we don't have renegades out there, people trying to take over and run things their way. So it's almost becoming self-sustaining, if you will.
Well, NATO Nation is still celebrating that 2019 performance and coming off that ring ceremony last week. And a message here from a member of NATO Nation, Kathy Wolf. Kathy has a request for you, Coach. She wants to see a close-up of the ring. So if you don't mind bringing it close to your device's camera, and maybe even just
take it off, but
maybe even describing a little bit of it, you know, to NATO Nation, you know, kind of the different elements of the ring. It's a beautiful piece of jewelry.
Yeah, well, right here on the front, it does let you know the team that won the ECAC Scotty Whitelaw Bowl, which is Brevard College, and of course the tornado for our mascot and symbol. And then on one side of it, you'll see it has the name. Now, depending on whether you were a coach or a player or support staff, it will have a name. For me, it happens to say HC for head coach. If it were a player, it might have a jersey number. If it was a support staff, it might have what they do on there. Some could choose to have the football remain blank. And, of course, it has our record underneath. Not sure if you can see it there, but it does. All right. And then on the other side, it does have the Brevard College. It has the score of our game and the year that we won it. So fantastic piece. And if you choose to wear one, you better exercise, do some shoulder workouts, because once that thing's on, it's a little heavy on the hand.
Very good. Well, Coach, before I let you go, I do want you to stick around just a moment here as we introduce our next round of guests here for Tornado Talk, and we'll see if we can bring them into the program here. 3 members of that 2019 bowl champion squad who now have hardware of their own: Nicholas Eubanks, Wesley Ross, and Chasen Lowry. Coach, great to see these 3 on Tornado Talk. Can you tell us a little more, just how valuable these 3 have been to the entire process and the success of Brevard College Tornado football?
Well, we spoke earlier, Phil, about the winning formula and what it takes to build a champion. Well, these 3 individuals right here can tell you firsthand, because they lived every single moment of it. So all a part of that 2017 group. So Nicholas Eubanks, I have a tough time calling him Nicholas. He knows I call him Weeb. So, but anyway, has anchored that offensive line outside of a moment here and a moment there of injury, has been out on that offensive line for 3 full seasons. And really good coach right next to Coach Lindsay. Very much so. Just with his knowledge of the game, identifies all the defenses for us, makes all the calls, settles everybody down, gets the quarterback prepared and ready. There's really nothing that the opponent can do that will in any way cause Weed to be rattled in any way, shape, or form. Just really, really smooth, really confident player. And what a thrill that is to have him now for his 4th year. Wesley Ross, I don't know how many times we spoke about him during last year's Tornado Talks with the various performances he's had with his interceptions or just timely plays. Anyone that's heard me speak about him knows that most of his plays are actually made with his brain. He's such a smart player, knows exactly where to be. We call it being football savvy. He's just a football player. So he understands spacing, timing, layout. So, and then with taking the coaching and the game plan for that particular opponent, that's what allowed him to have such great success, not just last year, but over his career. Chasen Lowry, all right, has worn many hats for this program. So he started out as an offensive lineman, aggressive, powerful, wonderful work ethic. And then once we were able to make some changes in our offensive line, we found a place for him that we could really use him, which was at fullback. And boy, talk to Christopher Newport how they feel about our run game. Just weren't prepared for something like that. And then that was early in the season, and we used that throughout the rest of the year with the things that he could do at fullback. And one thing that not a whole lot of people know about Chasen Lowry, all right, I'm going to get a little backlash from a few of the other players on the team, but I would say arguably he does have the best hands on our football team. So did make a few big catches for us during the year in some key moments. So fantastic at fullback. And now he is going to make the transition to defensive line. So we'll see how that goes. I wouldn't call it an experiment. I think he's going to be pretty decent, but with the ability to wear pads in the fall, we'll have a true understanding. Had we been back in the spring and made this move, you wouldn't really know due to his playing in just shorts and a T-shirt and no contact. So we'll know a little bit more about that after the 24th of October.
Very good, Coach. Appreciate that. And thank you for joining this edition of Tornado Talk. It's great to talk some Brevard College football with you. Best of luck as you head into the fall practice schedule, and can't wait to see the Tornadoes in action at Ives Lamel Family Field. Thanks again for joining the show, Coach.
Okay, appreciate it. Thanks, Phil.
Very good. That's head coach Bill Khayat, and joined now by Nicholas Eubanks and Wesley Ross. We're also trying to get Chasen Lowry on the line here. A couple technical problems, it seemed like, with Chasen, but we're working behind the scenes to try to get him back onto the program. But do want to have a conversation here with these two gentlemen. Nicholas Eubanks, we'll start with you, senior offensive lineman from Lawrenceville, Georgia, Brookwood High School. Thanks for joining the show, Nicholas.
Thanks, Phil. It's been a great honor to be here.
And also with us is Wesley Ross, senior defensive back from Cumming, Georgia, West Forsyth High School. Wesley, thanks for joining the show.
Yep, thanks for having me on.
Well, Wesley, we'll start with you. Ring ceremony last week, a big-time reward for a lot of hard work that 2019 club put in. And, guys like you and Nick Eubanks, the years leading up as well to build this program to where you can win a bowl game. How'd that feel to earn a championship ring?
It felt pretty crazy, to be honest. I never thought at Brevard College, my first year, we'd be winning bowl rings, to be honest with you. It was pretty unreal walking out there and getting our rings. It's pretty nice.
Very good. Another close-up there, and great to see you sporting that ring. And looks like we've got Chase and Lowry on the line as well, senior defensive lineman from Pembroke, North Carolina. Chasen, can you hear us loud and clear? All right, still working on some technical issues with Chasen. We'll take it over to Nicholas Eubanks, a offensive lineman out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. Same question I had for Wesley. Nicholas, how did that feel in that ring ceremony? Can you kind of explain it a little to NATO Nation, sort of from a player perspective, what that was like?
It was crazy. It was, I wish it was back in the spring whenever we could have people come and attend, but still just finally getting that ring on your finger, it's something to really imagine coming to a small school. I didn't really know that they had this kind of opportunity. So when I found out we were going to a bowl game, I knew that there was a possibility for a ring. It just kind of hit home, and I was like, let's do it. So.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Looks like we got Chasen back here. Appreciate you guys fighting through some connectivity issues to make this edition of Tornado Talk happen. Chasen, are you able to hear us here? Well, Wesley, I know there's a lot of excitement as you guys are getting set for the fall 2019 practice schedule and then the 2020 competition schedule. Coach spoke a bit about the work ethic and how the entire team is working hard on this voluntary basis at this point to get ready for the season. You guys are hungry for more after winning that bowl ring, correct?
Yeah, definitely. We've already been out having captain's practices or voluntary practices, whatever we need to call them. But yeah, we've been out. Before we have 10, 15 people at our voluntary practices, and this year, the whole team's out there basically, and it's just a world of difference from our previous 2 years. I think everybody's more hungry now. Everybody's seeing success now, and wants more of it.
You feeling the same thing, Nicholas, as far as that hunger for more success?
Oh, 100%. I think with these voluntary workout practices we're having, it's hard to do so with how we have to separate everyone. We can't go offense versus defense because of all regulations due to the workout mandate. But what we can do is we can get in small groups and, as long as we're getting the young guys accustomed to what our play style is and our playbook. So I think it's a good way to get them ready for. And I can tell so far that, especially the young guys and the older guys, that we're all hungry for this upcoming season.
Yeah, and the other big storyline, of course, Brevard College football on campus will be playing its home games on campus now. A newly expanded and renovated Ives Lamel Family Field completely has changed the look of that facility with the goalposts now in place and a stadium-type atmosphere. Wesley, you guys pretty pumped up about playing home games in front of the home crowd right here on campus?
Yes, sir. It's going to be new. It's going to be different. People are going to be able to just walk right out of their dorm and basically watch us play, Before you have to worry about a ride, getting back and forth from the high school. People here. I think Lowry's outside. Let me get him real quick.
Very good, Nick. Same thing for you as far as that home field advantage. It's gonna be something, correct?
Sure. Oh yeah, it's gonna be definitely different. For me, it's when we have practice out, usually because if it's rain or whatnot, we can't be on the practice field. It's a different kind of attitude everyone comes to the field with. Like Coach has that energy, so I think that definitely having the energy to play on the turf in our own campus will be definitely a game changer for us.
Yeah, game changer, no doubt about it. Well, Chasen, I'm glad you were this resourceful and able to, one way or the other, get on Tornado Talk by heading over to your buddy Wesley's spot. Chasen Lowry, a senior defensive lineman from Pembroke, North Carolina. Chasen, thanks for joining the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, Chasen, I do want to hear from you on the big news of last week. The ring ceremony, the Brevard College Tornadoes 2019 team rewarded with rings after that first win in bowl history for the Tornadoes. How did it feel to receive that championship ring?
Man, it felt amazing. It felt amazing to have the whole school on our back. President and his wife to be there. We had 2 kids on the team who wasn't able to travel, get flights and take drives to come. Felt amazing.
Outstanding and well-deserved. And do you feel like there's a lot of momentum, Chasen? You just like Nick and Wesley, you've been here, since that original recruiting class of Coach Bill Khayat. Do you feel like there's just a lot of momentum coming into this next season and coming off the big year in 2019?
Yes, sir, I actually do. Considering that we went 4-6 the first 2 years and then coming off an 8-2 record. And freshmen we have brung in, they're ready to come, ready to learn, and ready to work. They've been more productive and more ready to do what we need to do than any freshman class that has came in.
Mm-hmm. Nicholas, you agree as far as the newcomers go? These guys are getting up to speed quickly?
For the most part, yes. I mean, we do run a very complex playbook on style on the offense. We started, I want to say 2 weeks ago. Started with the basics, then just progressed from there. And so far, we're basically halfway through the playbook, and it's time to get it right. So that's good.
Very good. And the other big news, Wesley, and I haven't had the chance to talk to you guys about this in specific, is Brevard College is now full-time members of the USA South Conference and also Division III, able to actually bypass a year in that process. And what that means is the Tornadoes will be eligible for a USA South Conference championship and even a trip to the NCAA Division III national tournament. Have you guys talked about that as a team? And also, how big is that in terms of a motivator for you guys to have that sort of postseason opportunity?
Yeah, that's definitely our goal this year is a USA South championship. I mean, we want to beat everybody. We want to be the best, and then we definitely want to go on to the D3 playoffs if we have them, if they let us. So yeah, that's definitely a motivator. We're definitely looking forward to it, and we're pushing to it. So yeah.
Well, I'm pleased to see you guys both wearing masks, because a big part of this process here in the world of COVID-19 is, the campus has got to get on board with the 3 W's, wearing a face covering or a mask, wearing or waiting 6 feet away, and also washing your hands. There's campaigns everywhere on campus. The entire campus, the students are doing a great job trying to make this work. But would like to hear from each of you just how important it is to you guys. This is your senior year. And for this season to go off, successfully, we really need everybody on board with these 3 W's. Wesley, we'll start with you, then Chasen and Nicholas. Love to hear from each of you on this, and just, how important it is that, everybody gets on board and we keep the campus safe and indeed are able to have, not just a football season, but seasons for all the sports at Brevard College. Wesley, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this area.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's super important if we want to be here next obviously we want to have our 3 scrimmages this fall, but especially we want to play a season next spring. And so we need to, take the precautions, take what they're saying seriously, have your mask on, wash your hands, stay distant. I mean, we want to play, and I think everybody wants to play, and all the sports wants to play. And so everybody's got to do their part, and, just be smart about it and be responsible, and just do what you need to do so we can play.
Chasen?
Going off what Wesley said with being responsible, us being the biggest team on campus, we have the most people, we have the biggest crowds of everyone. At practice, we have the biggest crowds, just the little bit of practice players that come out than any of the sports teams combined. So that's why we as leaders, us and other seniors and even juniors, make sure that at practice we wear masks, we have masks on, we maintain distance. Because like he said, senior year, 4-6, 4-6, 8-2, what could be the next possibility we want to play?
Yeah, Nicholas, I know you want to see this season happen as well.
100%. For me personally, it's necessarily the classroom setting. It's different. It's something that people have to get adapted to. And first few times I was doing it, kind of got itchy. Not used to 100% always wearing a mask for so long. So it's once you get used to it, it's not the worst. The world we have to get used to right now. But as they both said, I want to play. We all want to play. We want to have a spring season, and hopefully we can get there.
Very good. Well, before I let you go, I do want to give you each the opportunity to, thank anyone or give a shout out to anyone along the way who may have, helped you throughout your career, and certainly it perhaps is continuing to help you as you head into your senior season. Wesley, floor is yours.
I just want to start with, thanks to my parents, my family. They've always supported me, been better to me than they probably should be. Coach Jaron, he's been my coach here for 3 years. He went to Virginia Tech now, but he's just such an awesome dude, such an awesome coach. I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am now without him football-wise. Just the whole coaching staff, everybody. But, yeah, that's probably it. Thanks.
Outstanding. Chase and Lowry, anybody you want to give a shout out to?
Yes, sir. I would like to thank everyone back home, my family, everybody back supporting me, telling me to keep pushing, keep striving to be the best I can. I'd like to thank the Brevard coaching staff for giving me a shot nobody else would. And hopefully I've made them proud of what I've done.
And Nicholas Eubanks, final words.
I just want to give a shout out to my parents, my mom, dad, my sister, my grandmother, and my grandfather. Without them, I wouldn't be who I am today and the player I am. They pushed me ever since I was 6 years old, not wanting to go to football. And then my staff, especially Coach Lindsay, he's been a mentor to me here. He's helped me with everything I need on the field, off the field. He's been that kind of guy. And the other coaches as well, they've all been there whenever I need them. So I'm trying to do that.
Very good. Well, appreciate that, fellas, and thank you for making some time for Tornado Talk tonight. Congratulations again, one final time on that 2019 season. You guys have that hardware now on your ring. No one can ever take that away from you. So wear it proudly. Congratulations again. And, looking forward to seeing the Tornadoes in action. Practice starts on September 30th. And, Coach talked a little bit about, the scrimmages and also the blue-white game that's going to be happening at Ives Lamel Family Field. So some exciting stuff happening this fall. Continue the hard work, gentlemen. And this week also, just want to let folks know other sports starting to get in action in terms of fall practice. Men's and women's soccer getting going tomorrow. Also cross-country, cheerleading, and cycling. Volleyball's first practice. They have got a conditioning event tomorrow, and then their first practice in earnest is on Thursday. So stay tuned to social media for updates throughout the fall. Instagram and Twitter at BC Tornadoes, and Facebook and YouTube. Brevard College Tornado Athletics is the place to be. Nicholas Eubanks, Wesley Ross, Chase and Lowry, head coach Bill Khayat. Appreciate you all joining us for another edition of Tornado Talk. We'll see you down the road. Go Tornadoes.
All right. Thanks, Phil.